Hi guys, welcome back to the second video in my series for medium brown skin tones. Today I'm going to share my top picks for concealer formulas and shades that I've loved for my medium skin tone in these last few years. But first, please hit that subscribe button to help support my channel. I would appreciate it so much. Also, if you guys are wondering what contact lenses I'm wearing, these are from Just for Kira. I recently just did a review on a bunch of colors that they sent me. These are my favorite. They are the Niala Green. If you guys are interested in checking them out, I will link that video below in the description box, and I'll also link the discount code they gave me for 20% off all of their contact lens colors, and I'll link that down below. Now let's get right into it. Number one for one of my top favorite concealers is the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer. I'm literally scraping at the sides of this one at this point. This was the first drugstore concealer that I was completely blown away by. And I find in general, I'm not as easily impressed by concealers because they're not as forgiving as foundations. When this one came out, it was supposed to be like a dupe for the Tarte Shape Tape, which I've never tried because I have really dry skin. But after seeing raving reviews for this concealer, I just had to get it. And it's literally about half the price of Shape Tape. So guys, this is full coverage, but it's not heavy or cakey at all. Before this, I had tried out the CoverGirl Undercover Concealer and I was not impressed. It was so drying. I could literally feel it tightening on my skin. But with the L'Oreal Full Wear, you need the smallest amount and it spreads and blends so amazingly. It doesn't accentuate dryness or fine lines, and it sets down and has a natural finish, so I don't have to powder it a lot, but it still looks lifelike. So the shade that I use is Latte. It is about a shade lighter than my skin tone, so I can get away with using it everywhere, under my eyes and on my face as well. And I also find I can get away without color correcting under this one. And when I'm tanned during the summertime, I can still get away with using this as a highlighting shade. I did go into the store yesterday and I saw the shade Amber and I compared it with the Latte, and it's about the same depth, but Amber is a little bit warmer. So when I run out of this one, I'm probably gonna pick that one up and see how that works. I have a feeling that it's gonna be a bit more flattering on my skin tone as well. There are only a few concealers that I've ever repurchased for the formula and the shade, and this is one that I'm going to be getting again because just as a concealer alone, even compared to high-end, this is an impeccable formula. Number two is the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. So this concealer was pretty popular with makeup artists around 2017. I love the idea of it being like a very creamy and concentrated pigment that you can use alone, like really full coverage, or mixed into other foundations. I actually used to color correct under this concealer with orange pigment, but I recently just realized that it's so full coverage and such a lovely warm undertone that I don't need to color correct at all underneath this. The shade range for this is also fantastic. I use the shade SX08, which is like a very warm medium undertone. This is the fullest coverage concealer I have ever tried. Like, it is heavy duty. And my favorite way of applying this is with my fingers, and I always try and make sure that my skin is moisturized really, really well so it has a good slip to it when it's blending. But you can also use a dense brush and just stipple it on as well. This is one of those concealers and shades where I can use this for the most perfected skin and it looks like I'm wearing foundation when I'm not. Number three is the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer. I got on this because one of my favorite makeup artists, Emma Chen, was always using this on her models and it looked amazing. And at this point, I was looking for a really full coverage concealer that was also hydrating, that I could use a very small amount of but still get amazing coverage. And I really loved how flawless and creamy it looked when she applied it on her models. So I got this in the shade 2W Olive. I'm usually a 3W Olive in the Dior Backstage foundation, so I wanted like a slightly more brightening highlighting shade. In hindsight, I do wish that I'd gotten the 2W, which is the 2 Warm. I realize now that olive isn't really the greatest undertone to use under your eyes if you have dark circles, so the slightly warmer undertone would have probably been better. So I definitely have to color correct under this concealer, but if I really wanted, I could get away with not doing it, and it's not like unbelievably noticeable. Regardless, I love the really creamy hydrating formula. It's definitely thick, but you do not need a lot. And it blends and spreads beautifully, and it never looks dry under my eyes. This is definitely my go-to for a glam look, but I can sheer it out if I really wanted to. Number 4 is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. I've gone back to this drugstore concealer over and over again. Before this one, I used to be crazy about that Maybelline Age Rewind concealer, but I just love how much more versatile the Fit Me concealer is, and also the shade range is amazing for a drugstore concealer. It's about a medium coverage concealer. It's very creamy. It doesn't set too dry or too hydrating. People used to call this one a dupe for the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer, which I never thought it was. But the more I use it, I can see how they're kind of similar. It doesn't settle into fine lines. It's light, but can be built up as well. It doesn't look cakey or dry, and it's just a really good, reliable concealer. I love the shade 20 Sand for a more brightened and highlighted look, but it's also got a really nice warm undertone, so it's very forgiving for using over my dark circles. I also really love the shade 30 Honey. I ran out of this one, unfortunately, but it's literally the most perfect shade for color correcting for medium skin tones. I do feature this one in my color correcting video, so if you're near my skin tone, do go ahead and check out that video. I'll link it in the description box below. The Honey shade is one of those shades that I can get away with using as my only base product for the most natural look. Number 5 is the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. I could not complete this list without including this cult classic concealer. It will forever be one of my favorites. I have never tried a formula like this one. It really is a beautifully creamy concealer, no matter the skin type. Young, mature, dry, oily skin clients that I have tried this on, it is my no-fail formula in my kit. It never looks dry. You can build it up or sheer it out. It just almost sets itself, so if you have dry skin, you barely need to use any powder over this. And it truly does look radiant and lifelike on the skin without looking too dewy or reflective. This one also takes the cake for me for having the most unbelievable shade range. In fact, there's so many shades that I can use like 3 or 4 for different purposes for my skin tone. My favorite shade is Ginger, which is a really beautifully warm, peachy, medium undertone. It's about a shade lighter than my skin tone, but I find that I can get away with using this without a color corrector. For highlighting and adding brightness, I love the shade Custard. It has the perfect warm beige undertone, and strangely, this is the shade that I can get away with using on a lot of different clients from like light to medium skin tones. And then there's the shade Biscuit, which is actually a really good color correcting shade. It's got a really lovely peachy salmon undertone. And then my perfect shade to match the rest of my face is Praline, which has a medium golden olive undertone. To me, you cannot go wrong with this formula. There was one formula that I would recommend anyone pick up, it's this one. And they carry a lot of their shades in the mini size, so if you wanted to trial it, you could easily go pick one up and you don't have to pay full price. My only gripe with this concealer is that I go through it way too fast for the price that I pay. But it is just so darn good that I've already purchased several. So that's it, guys. This rounds out my favorite concealer formulas and shades for medium brown skin tones. And I know that there's so many more good concealers out right now, and I can't wait to make the next video with more options. Are you currently using a concealer that you love that I didn't mention? Please let me know in the comments, and also list what shade you use, and I know that would be really helpful for the viewers who are going through it to use it as reference. So if you want to see some of these concealers in action for color correcting, I will actually just link my color correcting video right here for you guys. This video is going to show you how to color correct for the most natural finish. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next video in this series for my favorite blushes for medium brown skin tones next Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Make sure you don't miss it. Have a great week. Bye.